course,
We
she's
are
a tiger.
broadcasting and we are recording.
Beautiful. I see the record button. I see 2 attendees, 3. It's climbing. 5.
Awesome.
Can you guys see that?
No.
I
They're
see.
at the bottom.
If you click on the participants bottom, you'll see it looks like 2 people standing there. Stephen?
Yeah, I saw 15. I see it now. 17. Yep, perfect.
We can only see the attendance. The attendees won't be able to see video. They'll just see us 3. They won't be able to see each other. They'll just see us.
Did you get a final count from Johnny before you left?
No, but it will be.
Just curious.
I don't know. Because you'd have to sign in on the account, the moderator account. Yeah, we can check in the morning, Stephen, to how many people actually registered compared to how many attended.
No, excellent. No, that's fine. I'm just more curious than anything.
And we are broadcasting right now.
Thank you. Yeah. She's a tiger.
I like it.
Well,
we're gonna do awesome on this. Here we go. First.
We're broadcasting though.
I'll give it another minute. It is 6:29 on my clock.
23 participants so far.
Okay, I don't know if everybody's been connected yet, but it is 6:30 on my clock, so I am going to go ahead. Isabel, can you enable the share screening from the host side of Zoom, please?
Yep, you should be able to.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to begin the public hearing for Nashwauk Valley Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation for the Community Planning Act. I am going to make my screen as big as possible, do a brief presentation, and then we will open the floor up. So I would like to welcome you all to the public hearing being held in accordance with Section 111 of the Community Planning Act. This public hearing is being held by Regional Service Commission 11 staff on behalf of the Minister of Environment and Local Government. My name is Ashley Brown, and I am with the Regional Service Commission 11 Planning and Development Division. The following staff members that you see on the video are present with me tonight. They're Stephen McDelinden, General Manager, and Isabel Ouellette, RSC 11 Moderator for tonight. Members of the public are not shown on this video. There will be a certain time for members of the public to provide comments. I will verbally prompt the public when the public floor is open to speak. Tonight's public hearing is to provide an opportunity for interested persons to comment on the proposed amendments that could amend the Nashwauk Valley Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation Community Planning Act, if approved by the Minister of Environment and Local Government. There are 2 proposed amendments. The first amendment is a text-based and includes the following changes: making changes to text and reference numbers to match the new Community Planning Act, adding 2 definitions, cannabis and cannabis production facility, adding the following use to industrial zone section 4.61, a cannabis production facility subject to terms and conditions. The second amendment is to rezone PID 7553-2960 to permit the use of a cannabis production facility. The current property is zoned rural. There are 19 main uses that are permitted. They are single detached dwelling, duplex dwelling, triplex dwelling, fourplex dwelling, a group home, a special care home, an agricultural operation subject to section 3.22, a boarding stable subject to section 3.22, a conservation use, a forestry use, an assembly hall, an inn, a veterinarian's clinic, a mining operation, a park, a public building, a place of worship, a cemetery, an artisan shop. There are also another 15 main uses that are permitted subject to terms and conditions from RSC 11. They are as follows: a gravel pit, an automotive commercial garage, an automotive sales or rental establishment, a food service establishment, a boarding kennel, a personal service shop, a general service shop, a contractor's yard, a building supply store, a convenience store, a furniture showroom, a meat cutting and sales outlet, a garden center, a mini storage establishment, and a home display and sales outlet. The current rural plan was written prior to the cannabis being legalized. Cannabis production facility is not mentioned in this regulation. Therefore, the applicant has applied to rezone PID 75532-960. The applicant has indicated the following to us. The proposed building is 15,000 square feet with approximately 9,000 square feet of production or plant space. The water consumption for the building will be 1,200 liters a day at its highest. For comparison, 8,000 liters a day is the estimated water usage for a 4-person residence. The company will be producing cannabis in a living soil organic system that uses no chemicals and no feeding system. The applicant has stated that there will be no wastewater other than the bathrooms and changing room facilities. There will be no plant waste. All plant material that is not harvested for production will be mulched up and fed back into the soil. Shipping will be done weekly. There could be weeks where a couple of pickups are needed, but never outside of regular hours. The hours of operations will be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be 6 to 10 full-time employees and 4 to 6 part-time employees to start. This facility will have a state-of-the-art security system that will exceed federal standards and requirements. The system will provide top-notch security and protect the facility. The company will be working with RCMP closely as well to ensure quick response times and maximum precautions for this facility and surrounding areas. This will be a standard federally licensed facility. To mitigate odors concerns, this building will operate with an incline system that does not exchange air from outside rooms, and buildings are extremely airtight. There will be an air exchange system that can be used when needed that is extremely efficient and does not allow leakage. The system is checked valved and filtered to prevent contamination from coming in the rooms and to prevent odors from going out. The noise would be no more than an outside household heat pump. Comments were solicited to following departments: right-of-way management section of the Department of Transportation Infrastructure, Department of Energy and Resource Development, Department of Public Safety, Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture and Fisheries, and Environmental Impact Assessment Branch of the Department of Environment and Local Government. There were no objections to this rezoning from the provincial departments. However, terms and conditions 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were added to address departments' comments. Before amending land uses, consideration is given by imposing terms and conditions to mitigate nuisances. The proposed terms and conditions are as followed. 1, that the permitted use on PID 755-32960 are limited to the following: A, a cannabis production facility subject to terms and conditions; B, accessory building structures or use incidental to the main use of land, building, or structure; 2, that deliveries and pickups are limited to between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And 3, that the development be in substantial conformity to the site plan in Schedule 2D. And this is Schedule 2D. 4, that the building permits be obtained from Regional Service Commission 11 Planning and Development Division prior to construction of the cannabis production facility, subject to the following: that a new access permit from Department of Transportation Infrastructure be obtained by the applicant, all associated costs be borne by the applicant. 2, that the applicant shall apply measures to mitigate odor and noise. 3, that prior to commencing any project-related activities, confirmation that the septic system is approved by the Department of Public Safety must be provided to the Environmental Impact Assessment Branch of the Department of Environment and Local Government. 4, that any proposed modification to the project, i.e. increase in water requirements of 1,200 liters a day, must be submitted to the Department of Environment and Local Government to confirm any environmental impact assessment requirements. That should the project fail to proceed within 1 year from the date of this decision, the applicant must contact the Environmental Impact Assessment Branch of the Department of Environment and Local Government to confirm any assessment requirements. 5, that any outdoor lighting be located, arranged, or shielded not to interfere with traffic or within nearby landowners in reasonable enjoyment of their properties. 6, that where possible, existing trees and shrubs be maintained on the property. 7, that the cannabis production facility adheres to all applicable federal and provincial government regulations, and that any expansion of the cannabis production facility on the property requires a terms and conditions application. Copy of the draft proposed amendments have been made available to you online. As of 4 o'clock today, we received 8 written comments that have been submitted. The purpose of the public hearing is to record any comments that the public may have regarding the proposed amendments and pass it on to the Minister of Department of Environment and Local Government so he can make an informed decision. Typically, we host public meetings in person, but due to the current state of the emergency due to COVID-19, we have been required by the province to host them via Zoom online. To allow tonight's public hearing to run smoothly and provide everyone who wants a comment a chance to speak, we will be limiting remarks to 2 minutes. Actually, that's a typo, sorry. It's supposed to be 3 minutes. And after the 2-minute mark, you will hear a bell sound like this. This is your notice that you will have 1 minute left until your microphone is muted. Please note, you can still provide additional comments in writing after this meeting until July 29th. The RSC 11 moderator will prompt you when it's your turn to speak using your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please mute all other audio before speaking. Using multiple devices can cause audio feedback. Please state your name and address and speak slowly and be as clear as possible so we can record your comments as accurately as possible. The RSC 11 moderator will unmute you and you will have 3 minutes. After the 2-minute mark, you will hear a bell sound, as we have already stated. This is your notice that you will have 1 minute left till your microphone is muted. When it appears as though there is no further comments, I will ask 3 times if there are any further comments. If there are none, then the floor will be closed. I'm sure you're asking, how do I raise my hand in Zoom? So here, if you're on a smartphone, is an example of how to raise your hand. There'll be a little raise button here. You can click it once and click it again. It will lower it. If you're using a web-based browser, there'll be a raised hand here on the bottom of your screen. You click it, it will raise your hand. To unclick it, it lowers your hand. If you're attending via telephone, you can press 9 on your phone and it will raise your hand, but you cannot lower it, and that is okay. So I am gonna open the floor now. So please raise your hand on Zoom if you would like to speak.
Dina Corey, you have the floor. Please state your name and your address. Please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. My name is Dina Corey. I live at 60 Zionville Road in Tamath. And it's nice seeing you in person, Ashley. I've talked to you several times on the phone. I'd just like to comment, you have my letter, but I would just like to add something to my letter.
Sure.
It's regarding the smell. I know they say that there will be no smells and it'll be all regulated, but I don't trust that. I have asthma and it's a big concern for me. So just add that. I'll just go over what I wrote. My property value, I know, will go down. That's a known fact. And we moved to the country. We moved out here for the sole reason that the people who were selling the land out here said they wanted Tamath to become inhabited by young families. And we even had to have an interview with the person that owned this land before she decided to sell it to us. They did not want any industry on this land, and that was the main purpose for us moving out here. We bought quite a few acres, as did everybody else on the Zionville Road, and it should always, always remain residential. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. I did receive your letter, and the additional comments in your letter will be forwarded to the minister for his consideration. Thank you.
Geraldine Hunter Evans, it is now your opportunity to speak. Please state your name, your address, and please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Geraldine Hunter Evans, and I live at 47 Zionville Road. First of all, I would like to say that I don't approve of this way of doing the meeting. I think that we should have received the presentation in advance so that we could have prepared ourselves. We should have had more than 3 minutes. And I really think that the decision on this proposal should be delayed until we can have a public meeting where more people can voice their concerns. The other thing I would really like is to have a copy of how this proposed facility would work, because everything that I've looked at requires 22 liters of water a day. Sorry. For a plant to grow. Now, every living creature, including myself, needs water to live and to grow. And if I don't receive it, I'm going to die. So I really can't see how they can say that they're going to use 1,200 liters of water a day and no more. And I think it's a very great concern in this area for the groundwater. Our well had to be drilled more than 100 feet deep when my husband's mother owned this property. And we have an extensive filtration system here to deal with E. coli and coliform that were in the water system. So I think it's extremely important that the water situation be looked at. And I'd like to know who is going to measure and monitor how much this facility is actually going to use. I really don't think that self-monitoring is the way to go. And I really want to see documentation on this method of growing cannabis, because I don't believe what they're saying. And I guess for now, that's about all I have to say. I will be submitting more comments.
Great, thank you so much for your comments. They will all be forwarded to the minister for his consideration when he reviews this application. You can submit your additional comments directly to the minister to the address that's on the public notice. It will also be later in my presentation too. You can see it there too. So appreciate your comments.
Marcella Emberger, you have the floor. Please state your name, address, and please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Marcella Emberger. I live at 17 Tay Valley Road, and I'm a member of the Taymouth Community Center. I have submitted my comments already, but I want to second the comment about water, which we're all very concerned about. My husband also has submitted questions about lighting, concerns about lighting, and I think many of us, my neighbors to whom I've spoken, have said the same thing. Who are these people? We don't know them. They have never contacted anybody in our community. And as someone said to me earlier today on the phone, they live near Fredericton, and they made no effort to make any inroads into our community, which is a rural farming, gardening community. And as one of your previous speakers said, that's why we moved here. We did not move here for our land to be turned into an industrial area. Thank you very much.
And this is Jim Emberger. I'm going to share this 2 minutes here. I just had questions. You said that there were 4 conditions added by various departments. Were they part of the 10 conditions that you listed? Because if they weren't, I'd like to know what the 4 conditions were that were added by the Department of Environment, et cetera. And secondly, you gave us the uses of the land as it is now zoned, but I assume that once it's turned into an industrial zoning, that will continue. So if this business fails, it would be nice to know what other industrial uses then would be allowed on this land. So those are more questions than comments, but I think they're important. And I would just lastly ask a third question that you probably can answer now, Ashley, is I sent you an email today with questions about dark sky lighting. Will that go as a comment now, or do I need to formally submit that as a comment?
Jim, is that all your questions? Because then I can start talking. I just don't want to take any of your minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, so there are some of those questions I can answer. I was jotting down notes, so don't mind me if I look at my notes here for a quick moment. Yes, for your dark light sky, I did receive your email. Those comments have already been placed in the file to be sent to the minister when I do my report. For your terms and conditions, yes, those 4 conditions were added in. They were basically everything under number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 5 were added based on the comments from various departments. The uses, the existing uses that are there are existing uses that are permitted there now. If this rezoning, say, is denied, those existing uses will stay. If this rezoning is approved, the only use that he can have on that property will be the cannabis production facility as per the terms and conditions that we've drafted up. I hope that answers your questions.
All right, Sally McGrath, it is now, the floor is open for you. Just ask you to unmute yourself, state your name, as well as your address, please.
Hello, I'm Sally McGrath. I live at 71 Nashwauk Road, Thames. I am concerned about this to some degree. I'd like to reiterate what the lady said about the water. The Zionville area is where the land goes higher. As far as I remember, there are no continuous streams running off that area. So you've only got groundwater. We're already in a drought situation. Who is going to monitor that they only use 1,200 liters a day? That sounds impossible. In fact, who is going to monitor any of these conditions on a regular basis? Is there any provision here that they will have to post a bond to cover the cost of mitigation? And finally, remember, in 2019, Moncton had an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease, which was linked to the organogram operation, which presumably also operates under these same strict conditions. Okay? I've finished.
Great, thanks for letting us know that you finished, and I appreciate the comments, and we will forward all those comments and questions onto the minister for him to make a decision on this application.
Okay, it is Patricia Albert. The floor is open for you. Please state your name as well as your address, and I'll ask you to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Patricia Albert, and Albert with my daughter Mireille Albert here. We own a property at 983 Route 628, that leads to Zionville Road. We are wondering about the route that will be used by the delivery, the transportation, basically to and from the facility, proposed facility. Where would that run? We'd like to know details about that. We'd like to know what the route would be. This is a narrow valley. There's a lot of echo, and so having trucks come through affects the noise level significantly in the region. Secondly, echoing Mrs. McGrath's comments, Zionville Road is up on the mountain, and we'd like to understand what analysis has been done on the watershed. So where's the effluent from this septic system, this extensive septic system? Where is it going to go? And so we'd like to see that analysis of where we expect that would lead to. And I completely echo who is going to monitor that, and are we going to hear about it? What is being monitored? And the last thing I would like to say is I was going to mention that particular event in Moncton with the Legionnaires outbreak. Indeed, that was a facility that was operating under similar conditions, and yet a lot of people ended up sick. Why? Why was this not checked? Oh, and last thing, sorry. We'd like to have the presentation. We don't know why we didn't have access to the presentation, why we couldn't have time to prepare, and yeah. So we'd like to have the access to all of this information.
Great, thank you so much for your comments. Excuse me, I can answer a few of them. The transportation route will be on the existing road that's there. One of the conditions of the terms and conditions is that the applicant has to apply to the Department of Transportation that actually owns the road and has jurisdiction over this for a new access permit. So prior to getting any permits to build this, if it does get approved, the applicant will need to apply for an access permit, which will deal with anything that needs to be done to the road. And the conditions does say that it will be, all associated costs will be borne of the applicant. So I do not know what those exist. It will be determined when the requirements are based from DTI. They're the ones that will determine what needs to be done. But there is something in place for that to be done. No building permit will be issued until that is satisfied to us at Regional Service Commission. The next thing you said something about septic assessment. So before any activities, there needs to be a septic assessment done and approved by public safety. So, and that needs to be provided to the environmental impact assessment branch. So I believe that answers your question on the septic question, excuse me. And yeah, that will also answer your watershed question too. And I can ask Stephen to comment about access to the presentation and stuff. I don't know if we can, I don't know what, you have to unmute yourself there, Stephen. Sorry to put you on the spot. You're still muted.
Okay, access to the package, we put it online 4 or 5 days before?
No, we put it on 21 to 31 days prior to this public hearing.
Oh, for the
It's been on our
rezoning.
website, yeah.
Yeah, so you could access it through that. Once we did notify people within 500 meters of this location, and through the Community Planning Act, it's only 100 meters, but we've actually gone above and beyond because of the actual usage. It would have been a rock quarry or a pig farm. We would have done 500 meters as well. So at that point in time, you could have asked for a staff report. And I'm sorry that we're trying to be transparent. As a Regional Service Commission Planning and Development, we're process driven. So that is our process. And you know, so I apologize that you didn't see it or had access to it or had the process beforehand.
Thank you, Stephen, for clarifying that. I think we are, if there is anybody else that would like to comment on something new that we have not heard, I guess just to summarize, we've heard a lot about we've heard about water, how the system works, lighting, usage, route, septic. If there's anything else that's new that we haven't heard, because all these comments and questions are going to be presented in a package to the department. So if anybody has anything new, I'd love for you to speak on some new comments that we have not heard yet.
Linda Stewart, oh, never mind. Calvin Gesner, the floor is yours. I'll just ask that you unmute yourself and state your name and address, please.
Hi there, my name is Calvin Gesner, and I actually live in the city in Fredericton, but I have a little camp out on Zionville. And I only learned about this from Linda. It appears to me there has been extensive design which obviously takes time and a considerable amount of expense. And I have to ask why the community was not consulted at the conception of the project. And I think it's actually absurd to give residents only 3 minutes to ask questions. I think a proper meeting is required. There's far too much information to be obtained in a 45-minute session. It also appears to me that the current situation in regard to the pandemic is being taken advantage of here. I would also request the minister halt the project until residents have a proper opportunity to learn more, perhaps info from similar facilities and experiences, and perhaps some technical people could attend the meeting to actually answer those questions as well. So I sent some questions, and quite frankly, I'm going to resubmit them because, you know, I need a proper answer. And I understand there's the canned answer, but I think this is something that's different. It's something that's it's new to most people that would be around these facilities. So I think we need an opportunity to look at it a little bit closer because it does have an impact. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Calvin. I guess just to touch base on a couple of your things, the info that we have is the info that we were provided in the application. We're actually not doing anything different than we would if we were actually face-to-face tonight. So the information that we can reply to is the information that we were provided by the applicant and the information that we were provided by the province through the different departments. I did get your email and I did get all your questions. I feel some are being answered tonight and some I just can't answer. But that doesn't mean that those questions aren't going to go to the minister for his staff and him to review and do his own education and research on that. I don't have any links to give you on any existing facilities in the province because I'm not aware of any other existing facilities in the province right now in our region. So I believe I will leave it there and ask if there's anybody else that has any other questions, comments that on a topic we have not heard as a concern or a question. Thank you.
Ruth Doiron, the floor is yours. I'll ask that you unmute yourself, state your name as well as your address, please. Please unmute yourself, Ruth. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ruth Doiron. I live at 223 Zionville Road. I have pretty much the same concerns as everybody, but I do own a home here. We're right at 1.5 kilometers from the proposed site. And just the thought of something being there, I know they say there would be no odor, but that's really hard to believe. And the amount of water is also, and I mean, it was already suggested that there's going to be room for expansion in the future. So if this is allowed, that's like we're allowing them the possibility of expanding too. And that will bring them right next to us. And it will use more water than what they say. And the smell, I just can't imagine that there wouldn't be any. And it's really, really got me down for the last couple of weeks thinking of this being built next to my home that we've lived in for 28 years. And we walk on the road, we go on ATV trails. It just would, and the traffic, and then there's the possibility of criminal activity. They said there was going to be so much security. That just made it sound even worse than what I imagined. So I guess it's just my feelings. I don't really have any questions. It sounds like he's got it all planned out and it's been in the works for a long time. It almost sounds to me like a done deal, and it makes me angry and it makes me upset. And I really want concerns of everybody to go ahead with this and for this to be canceled if at all possible. We were not considered at all as homeowners here beside the proposed site, and community members, like Marcella Emberger said, nobody had made contact with any of us out here. And it's just a really awful situation we're in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ruth, for your comments and your feelings and your concerns there. I will tell you that there is a condition here, terms and conditions, that deals with any future expansion. So right now, all that is being applied for, yes, the whole property is being zoned industrial, but the site plan that's attached to the terms and conditions, which is still a draft, this is all just proposed. This is not final. It's going to go to the minister for him to decide to approve or deny. This is your public forum that is set up for LSDs to have a public hearing. This is us here for you guys to get your opinions and concerns and present it to the department for the minister to make a decision. So right now, the way it is written in terms and conditions is that it's one building as per that site plan. He can't do any more. If he wants to expand in the future, he has to come back to us, or whoever owns the property has to come back to us and apply for terms and conditions applications, and it will go through basically the same process of going back to all the departments for reviews and comments, and it will go back to the environmental impact assessment branch, and it possibly could trigger needing environmental impact assessment registration, which he would have to do further studies for. So hopefully that answers your questions, and just a little bit more on the process that we are here for you guys tonight to get your comments and concerns. Thank you very much.
Danielle Evans, the floor is yours. I'll ask you to please unmute yourself, state your name as well as your address. Thank you.
Okay. Daniel Evans at 47 Zionville Road. And I guess from what I've heard there, the water situation is certainly foremost in everybody's mind. But the other thing too that I've been thinking about is the road condition here up on the top of the Zionville Hills after it goes to gravel. It's always been terrible out there, and this is going to make it worse unless he plans or DOT plans to upgrade that road. It'll need to be raised, ditched, and then from what I heard, he's supposed to pay for all this. I'm not sure if that's true. The other thing is the power requirements for that facility. Right now we have single phase power going up the hill. I don't think that's enough. You'll have to upgrade that. That's not going to be cheap. And there's also winter up on these hills is terrible. Snow removal, he's going to have tons of snow to take care of. I'm not sure if he's prepared for that. Plus power outages. We have power outages up here, so he will have to have generators. Not sure how they're going to be run, and traffic on this road where everybody's residential. It's going to upgrade the traffic and noise level. So those are my concerns, and I guess Ruth or somebody touched on the facilities plan for the future. I guess we've already discussed that part, but those are my concerns, and I don't know if my sister's sitting here. She's got any comments?
I'm going to tag in here. My name is Judy Underhill. I live at 45 Zionville Road. I wasn't able to access the internet. It would not work well enough for me. I wrote a letter this afternoon to Mr. Carr, and that was part of my concerns was that the internet service here is not strong enough. I second, like, the water, the smell. Like I said, we like to sit outside. Chances are, like what we're reading when we research this, is like the smell is detectable within 5 miles. So that's 2 communities that will be affected by that smell, and outdoor living probably will not exist anymore. I have that. I totally second what Calvin Gesner said. All of his points that he raised, I feel that we were not consulted and we were not treated fairly. I wouldn't even know about this if one person hadn't heard of it and spread the word to everybody. The community wouldn't be here tonight talking to you as we are. You'd have maybe 3 people that would know about it. I just don't feel we were respected at all in this. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, I guess we're finished. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your comments. Your comments will be forwarded off to the minister and their department for their review.
Linda Stewart, the floor is yours. I'll ask that you unmute yourself, please, and state your name as well as your address. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Stewart at 46 Zionville Road.
Linda, can you speak up a little bit? We can't hear you very well.
I'm Linda Stewart at 46 Zionville Road, Tama. How's that?
You still sound hard to hear, Linda. I don't know if you're on speakerphone or if you're on something else.
On the laptop.
Okay.
Just speak as loud as you can, please.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, I just want to read something from the ministerial regulation for the Nashwauk Valley Planning Area under the Community Planning Act. The Nashwauk River, which flows through the length of the planning area, also contributes to the area's identity. Historically, the river shaped settlement and transportation patterns in the planning area. Most residents here in the communities of Piniac, Nashwauk Village, Durham Bridge, Tama, and Nashwauk Bridge, which are located along the river. The aesthetic and recreational attributes of the river and residents. Strong sense of community identity contributes to overall quality of life in the planning area. Zionville, although not mentioned as a community, is connected to the Zionville Road starting in Tama opposite the Nashwauk River. This facility would be 3.6 kilometers from Route 148, Tama. Approximately 35 civic addresses populate the 3.6 kilometers. Now I do have a question, and that is, this is a 110-acre property, and looking at the proposal shows a small area, 15,000 square feet. So that means there's lots of room for a lot of expansion, although you say they have to go, you know, for more. It's obvious that that is just paperwork. There will be more water taken, there'll be more odor caused. And who do we notify when this becomes a problem? And another thing I have here, Danny Ross is here. He is a landowner and he does not have internet. And what consideration will be given to surrounding property owners? Owners that have purchased rural residential property only to have their plans ruined by locating this property in the middle of theirs for development. Please respond to Danny. He's here.
Hi, I don't actually have an answer for Danny, unfortunately, where I can only answer with the information that I have. I'm not the person that makes the decision on this application, but I can take his question. It's in the minutes, and it will be forwarded off to the minister and his staff for consideration on this rezoning. Is there anybody else that has anything else that they would like to say that we have not heard? Anything new, concerned, comment, question that we have not heard yet tonight?
There is Dan Serpiello. The floor is yours. I'll ask that you state your name as well as your address, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Dan Serpiello. I live off of Zionville Road seasonally on the Cotswinkle Road. Is that enough for you? Can I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. I just joined this meeting late. I don't know if it was addressed at all, but will the road, what plans are there to pave the road out to the site of this proposed facility?
Is that your only question, Dan? I don't want to take any of your time that you have. If you want to just state your questions, I'll see what I can answer, okay?
That's my only question for
That's
now.
your only question? Okay. So we did cover that earlier in the presentation. It is in terms and conditions. I'm just looking it up here. I don't have it memorized. Number 4, when they go say this got approved, this is all hypothetical, it's a draft, that if it did get approved. They went to apply for their building permits. One of the requirements is that they need to get a new access permit from DTI, and they would be the ones that will require what needs to be done to the road because they are the owners of that road. And that all associated costs will be borne by the applicant. I hope that answers your question, Dan.
That does answer my question. Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would like to talk about something new that we haven't heard yet? I think there's a couple more hands raised. I think we'll go through those, Isabel.
There's a new person. There's Jean Burgess.
Yes, we have not heard from them yet. Thank you.
The floor is yours. I'll ask that you unmute yourself, state your name as well as your address, please.
Yes, Jean Burgess, 12 Zionville Road, first house on Zionville. I just wanted to put into the meeting what you have quoted that is relevant to this discussion, which is excerpts from the Nashwauk Valley Planning Area Rural Plan Regulation relevant to this rezoning application. Because I'm having trouble seeing how what follows here is being considered in terms of the application. So what you've quoted is that the rural plan objectives, which are to be implemented, are to maintain the rural character and quality of life, to support growth and development that is consistent with community values, to ensure land is used and developed in an environmentally responsible manner, to recognize the traditional variety and mixture of land uses while separating incompatible uses and minimizing the potential for land use conflicts, to encourage a healthy agriculture and resource-based economy, to protect and preserve the quality and quantity of surface and groundwater resources, to direct development away from areas that pose a risk to public health and safety or where property may be damaged, to encourage the provision of areas for public open space and parkland. So I think what we're hearing tonight are concerns that in fact match those objectives. And so I just want to have them foregrounded. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
There is a Mike. The floor is yours. I'll ask that you unmute yourself, state your first and last name as well as your address, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Beer. I'm at 61 Nichols Road. Just a quick question. I did miss the start of the meeting, so I don't know if it's been addressed, but our property borders a lot of the watershed that comes down from the area that's proposed for the new industrial development there. What is put in place to protect the watersheds as far as pesticides, herbicides, anything else that's coming out of this facility? Like I say, they're basically on top of the hill and all the watersheds flow down past us through Mackenzie, Fraser, and Light Body Brook there. And also, I guess just my second concern is the same as everybody else. We just purchased this property to have a rural, out of the industrial area. We did not want to be in the city or around industrial areas. That's why we bought this. So what is the minister going to do to compensate, I guess, the owners out here who have owned for years and who have just purchased with the expectation of having a rural life out here, not a industrial smell and noise area? That's all I have for questions.
Hi, Mike. I guess you did miss a bit of our presentation because I did address a lot of this already in the presentation, so I'm not really going to go back forward through it a lot, but we did deal with the watershed. We did deal with dealing with the Department of was the, sorry, my tongue tied, I've been talking a lot lately. We dealt with the environmental impact assessment branch, and they advised us that they weren't required to do an impact assessment registration right now, and that any future expansion they will. We put that in the terms and conditions, which you can review on our website. The whole package of the draft bylaws are there, or amendments, sorry. Your other question about compensation, I can't speak on behalf of the minister. We are just here tonight to get comments and concerns from the public. This is your public forum. This is how you guys get to have your, I guess, basically say what you want the minister to do or not do. All these comments and these questions tonight will be forwarded to the minister for him to make a formed decision on your guys' behalf. So thank you, Mike. I hope that answered your questions.
Yvette Swan, the floor is yours. I just ask that you state your name as well as your address, and please unmute yourself.
My name is Reverend Yvette Swan, and I am the pastor for the National Pastoral Charge, which includes Tamos, Zionville, and Durham. In canvassing the members of our church, 100% of the members are totally against such a change in the zoning of the area. The putting an industrial area in the middle of a residential area for us, it doesn't matter what it is not conducive to the area, considering that a number of the members are retired or semi-retired, and the younger members who are moving into the area with young children, we don't believe that it is good for them to be having to put up with such a situation at this time at all. So I'm hoping that you will tell the minister, and this is not a threat, but it is being said very firmly, that the majority of people in this area are totally against such an operation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
We have a second Linda Stewart. Please state your name, address, and unmute yourself. Thank you. We can't hear you, Linda Stewart.
I will state, if anybody's having technical difficulties to get onto Zoom, either through the web or by phone, you can dial in by the phone. You do have 2 weeks after this meeting to still write in any written comments to the minister directly to the Department of Environment and Local Government. So your voice will still be heard. Linda Stewart, we still can't hear you, so I'll give it another couple seconds and see if we can hear you. If not, we will go on to another person. Okay, sorry, Linda Stewart, we still can't hear you, so we're gonna move on. You can write in if you need to.
So all the current hands that are raised have spoken already, so it's going to be Ashley's decision whether you're allowed to speak a second time or if everyone's allowed to only speak once. So that's going to be Ashley's call.
I think we'll just leave it the way we have it. I'll also ask Stephen to second me on that if he feels if we should allow for second voices, or should we allow them to speak again? There's a few people that have raised hands again. Do we want to let them have it again, or just a 3-minute max? They do have the opportunity to write in any other comments that they have to the minister after this meeting. Your voice will still be heard. But I feel like maybe we should just leave it at the one where we said everybody had 3 minutes to speak.
I would agree with you, but this is our first Zoom meeting rezoning that we've had in the Regional Service Commercial 11. So I guess if we have a few hands raised,
We do.
we don't want to reiterate what's already been said, because actually we have these all, it's being recorded. Minutes verbatim will be sent to the minister with our package. So everything they've said this evening with water issues, with noise, with smell, traffic, watershed, it's already been said. So if any of these hands raised as something new, I think we should entertain it. But if it's not new, then we should close the meeting.
All right, so Patricia Albert, the floor is yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
Yes. I understand that we have the opportunity to submit comments. I am just unsure here how we are to get answers to our questions. I understand I have not quite gotten a response regarding the route that would be taken. You mentioned the road. Are we talking about taking 628 up to Zionville and then driving up Zionville? Will there be a special exit made from Highway 8? Well, I just don't have an answer to my question. And the other thing is that I asked, how can I get access to the environmental assessment? How can we see the results of monitoring, etc.? Where can I get answers to these things? This is my main thing.
Okay, so Patricia, I'm actually going to tell you that basically I don't know what Department of Transportation is going to require for another turning lane or anything like that, because I don't work for government. I don't work for Department of Transportation, nor do I work for Environmental Impact Assessment Branch. This project is still in a planning phase. Right now, tonight, all we're here for is a land use planning part of it, where we actually just look at what is going to be used on that property. So I guess my best answer for that is you're welcome to contact those particular departments and ask those questions to the people that do that job. I'm sorry, but I don't do that job to give you an answer. I would love to give you an answer, but I don't know the knowledge to give you that. So until the application is submitted for a new access permit, I don't know if DTI will know, but there are a process in place to make sure that those are addressed. And there was no environmental impact assessment done on this project. It was determined not required from the experts at Environmental Impact Assessment Branch. I hope that answers your question.
Ruth Doiron, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, my husband was going to talk, but he's decided not to, so you can skip us.
Okay.
Thanks, Ruth.
Calvin Gesner, sorry, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
Hi there, this is Calvin Gesner again, and I just wanted to make a comment to everyone that's concerned about the project that perhaps it would be in our best interest to write the minister directly and to encourage everyone who that's concerned about the project to also write the minister directly. And I think there has to be a moratorium on the project until people learn more. Thank you.
Thanks, Calvin. I think we got a few more.
Yep, 4 more. Linda Stewart, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself. Linda, you're still muted. Linda, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself. All right.
Linda, we still can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Again, you are welcome. Oh, there she is, maybe. You're unmuted now. Can't hear you yet. No, we still can't hear you, Linda.
We're gonna
move on, Linda, to the next one. If you're still having technical difficulties, which I think you are, you're welcome to wait till the end of the presentation. There'll be an address for the address that you can submit your comments to.
All right. Mike, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is actually Mike's wife, Tatiana Beer. We live at 61 Nichols Road. I just wanted to add my own concern that businesses come and go, and I'm concerned that this property will be rezoned for industrial, that this particular business might fail, and then some other industrial company that's perhaps even dirtier, smellier, noisier, will then find it easier to move in. So if could be some provision that even if this business does get the go-ahead, the property would be rezoned back to its current status if they fail, or I just don't want to be in a position later on down the road that an even worse business moves in and we're stuck with it because the property has been rezoned. That's all I wanted in the minutes.
Okay. You're welcome. I will just make one comment on that, that if this is approved, the only industrial use that will be permitted is the cannabis production facility with terms and conditions. So they won't be able to put anything else in its place unless they come back to us and rezone it. I don't know if you were around from our presentation, but there is a number of existing uses that is currently allowed right now in that zone, other than cannabis production facility. So there are other type uses that do exist right now in that property, for that property.
Sally McGrath, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
I've actually lost your visual. And I have to tell you, I participate in a lot of Zoom meetings, and this is the weirdest one I have participated in. Usually you can see all the participants, which really helps. So my comment is this. When did these people buy this property? Do you know?
I do not know when these people bought the property. That doesn't have anything to do with my purpose of rezoning the property.
Okay, but presumably they bought it for this reason.
I can't answer that.
Can't answer that, okay. I think the minister would be very unwise to allow this zoning change, given the opposition from the community. And I would advise everybody to contact their MLA concerning this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments. It will be recorded in the minutes.
Danielle or Evans, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I guess, a comment that everybody that's called in here is 100% against this. The other thing I wanted to say was wondering about was a time frame, and how will we know the outcome of this meeting? And I think we have a couple of other comments here if you have the minute. So did you guys want? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Daniel Ross of 82 Zionville Road. I own the land adjacent to the proposed marijuana grow up, and the building they are planning on putting on this property is basically less than 100 feet from where I am planning on building houses and having it for private use. What is your answer to this? Thank you.
So I guess if that's all the questions from you right now, Daniel, I'll start answering them. I don't want to take any time from you.
Is there more, Dave?
Yeah, my name is David Stewart. I live at 46 Zionville Road. When this initially started, we heard about it from a property owner, and there was only a handful of them that butted that property. We here in Tamos, 3.6 kilometers away, had no idea this was going on. I think to have it held by a computer meeting and 3 minutes to respond is ridiculous at a time of COVID, and also a lot of people don't have good internet, and aren't computer savvy, seniors. We still live in a democracy. I think it's time that we hold this whole process off until we've had a public meeting and everybody can voice their opinions in a little more time than 3 minutes. Thank you.
Is there anybody else left to speak there?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So for the time frame, which I'll deal in my closing presentation as well, but I'll state it here anyways. The minister has 6 months to make a decision, either deny or approve this rezoning. And I believe it's sometime in December 15th, but I'll know the date for sure when we get my PowerPoint back up. So that's 6 months from the date of when this public notice went on our website. The way you're going to know the decision is if it is approved, it will be posted as an amendment on our website under regionalservicecommission.ca/planning. All of our rural plans are posted there for the regulations, and any amendments that do get approved by the minister will be posted on the website once it's been registered down at Land Registry. We have followed the directive that the province provided us for this extreme case with COVID-19. This is our first Zoom meeting. We usually do it in a public forum where we actually get a hall and we can meet face to face. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that today. So we've been directed to do this, and we did follow all procedures for mailouts and notices according to Section 111 of the Community Planning Act, which I think Stephen had already mentioned. The mailout only requires us to actually do 100 meters, and we did 500 meters, which is what our procedures are here for RSC 11 on contentious rezonings or issues like this. So I hope that answers all your questions. I think there was one question about personal use for property. Unfortunately, I can't comment on personal matters like that. So your comment will be submitted to the minister for his consideration though. Thank you.
Geraldine Hunter Evans, the floor is now yours. I'll ask that you please unmute yourself.
I just wanted to comment on the fact that quality of life is what most of us are concerned about, and the impact that this facility might potentially have on the quality of our life. And another concern is property value. Most people who live in this area own their homes and have put a considerable amount of their income, their work, their sweat, their life into developing their properties. And I think we're all very concerned that this facility will greatly impact the value of our properties and the value of future property development. Is there anything that can be done besides denying this application to mitigate the impact of this on our property value? And the other thing that wasn't answered that I asked before was, who is going to monitor the water usage, the actual water usage of this facility? Does the Department of Environment do that? Is there a meter that's installed? You know, how are they going to know how much water this facility is actually using? The other thing I wanted to say is that this is a recreational area used not only by the residents, but used by many people who come here to snowmobile, to use their ATVs, to hunt, to fish, to hike. And I just don't feel that this type of facility is conducive to those types of activities and to the standard that we expect to live to in this rural area. This is not an industrial area. This is an area for a bedroom community. It's an area for enjoyment. It's an area for families, and a lot of retired people live here. I strongly oppose the development of this facility, And I certainly hope the minister will listen to our concerns. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments on that. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. I think I've already touched on property values before, or personal gain or loss. I can't speak on behalf of the minister for any of that. So I honestly don't have an answer for you on that, but that question will be submitted along with all the other questions tonight to the minister. You did ask about the actual water value. How will we actually know? We did put it in terms and conditions in that any proposed modifications or increase in water supply that they need to contact the Department of Environment and Local Government to confirm that. I'm not aware if there's anything on the well or the for a meter. I could direct you to the people that are experts on this, which would be that department for the Department of Environment and Local Government. Department branch would be the Environment Impact Assessment branch. Those are the expertise. Those people would possibly be able to answer your question. I cannot answer that tonight. And I think that was all your questions on that. So do we have any other questions, Isabel? I don't think we do.
There are no hands up.
What I will do is I will just share my computer quickly here for my notes. Oh, I say black. I will go. So I will thank you all for taking the time to attend this public hearing to voice your comments. The minutes from tonight's meetings will be forwarded to this meeting, will be forwarded to the Minister of Environment and Local Government for his consideration. Please note that you also have the continued opportunity after tonight's public hearing to submit your written comments directly to the Minister. So from here on in, any comments need to be sent to Paul Jordan, Provincial and Community Planning Branch, Department of Environment and Local Government. His address is P.O. Box 6000, Fredericton, New Brunswick, E3B5H1. You can send them directly to him, as well as any letters that you want to go to the minister. You can send that to him as well. And the deadline for your written comments is July 29th, 2020 at 4 p.m. And I believe the minister has until December 15th, 2020 to make a decision on this application. I thank you for coming, and this ends the floor is now closed and ends the public hearing portion of this meeting. Have a great evening, folks.